Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are coming to you live on YouTube as well as on Facebook. And this is really sort of an experimental broadcast. We want to talk a little bit about our upcoming Clicker Expo, and I want to tell you about our monthly program called Live from the Ranch that will, in January, be moving right here to this YouTube channel and this Facebook live stream. So if you don't know me, my name is Ken Ramirez, and we're coming to you from the ranch, which is also known as the Karen Pryor National Training Center. And one of the things that we are so excited about, and we're testing this YouTube channel so that we can see how well it works for us, but we are excited that coming up in January is going to be Clicker Expo Live. That's January 27th, 28th, and 29th. And if you're not familiar with the live format, what's really cool about it is we have many excellent, wonderful speakers. We have some really great topics that we're going to be talking about. We have 4 or 5 things going on at the same time, and you can pick the topic that'll interest you. But it's not a pre-recorded lecture. We will actually be doing our lectures live, and not only are we live, but most of the faculty and instructors will be doing live training sessions. So you can watch them train and see them troubleshoot in the moment, see us make mistakes, make decisions. And of course, if you're a participant, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions. In fact, I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask me questions in just a few minutes, but I thought I would get started by giving you a little taste of one of the topics that I'll be talking about at Clicker Expo. One of the things that I speak about a lot is I like talking about non-food reinforcers and the importance of developing non-food reinforcers. So I'm going to move over to a platform over here and get my wonderful dog Marlin to join me. Hey Marlin, how are you? Come on over here. And I'm going to get him to jump up here on this platform. Hi, buddy. And give him a nice treat for that. One of the things that is important to me as a trainer is that sometimes we get so reliant on food that we find ourselves not being able to accomplish very much if we don't have food. But we often run into situations where food is not available, and people try to use different schedules of reinforcement, and that can be kind of tricky sometimes. And one of the things I always recommend is that I encourage us to use a pretty continuous schedule of reinforcement, but I like to use reinforcement variety. And what that means is I'm not going to reinforce with food all the time. I try to find other things that can be reinforcing, whether that's a toy or play or tactile. That can be really useful. But the problem is I've seen a lot of trainers try to use tactile or try to use toys, and they haven't really taken the time to develop them strongly. So in a course at Clicker Expo that I call Love It, Using Non-Food Reinforcers, I'm actually going to be teaching people how I go about creating novel reinforcers. So for example, one of my favorite reinforcers is to use clapping. And clapping isn't naturally reinforcing for all dogs. In fact, for some dogs with noise sensitivity, you wouldn't want to use clapping. But my dog doesn't mind it. But the way I develop clapping as a reinforcer is I literally train it as a behavior. My dog is paying attention to me as Marlin is doing now. He's waiting to see what I'm going to ask for him to do next. And I often reinforce that. But one of the things that I start adding in to my training program is I'll clap and then follow it with a treat. I'll clap and follow it with a treat. And my only requirement for Marlin is that he stays at his platform and that he looks at me. And as long as he's looking at me, I'll reinforce it. And at the very early stages, this is no different than the way you might establish a clicker. I'm just trying to make a classical pairing. What I want to happen is clapping becomes associated with a treat. But as you begin working with the dog, you can start doing things where you do other behaviors, like I might be able to have him target, and then I clap, and then I give him a treat. Or I might be able to do other behaviors, and then with time, and I'm going to reach into my pocket and pull out my clicker ring. I forgot to have that ready to go. So often when I forget to do something and I reset things, if I get it all done and my dog is still paying attention to me, I want to reinforce him for paying attention to me. But either way, Marlin is really well conditioned. And then we begin doing behaviors, and we begin gradually moving the reinforcer farther and farther away from the actual behavior, until eventually you get to a point where you can do lots of things without reinforcement. I'm going to actually close my treat pouch and do a series of behaviors that Marlin should do really well. And it's going to look like I'm using an intermittent schedule of reinforcement, but what I'm really going to be using is reinforcement variety. I'm going to make sure to reinforce every single behavior. So I'm just going to get started. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Can I see your paw? Good boy. That was really, really nice. How about the other paw? Nicely done. Good boy. Good boy. Okay, come on down here with me for a minute. Good. All right. Let's work on the ground for a second. Can you lay down? Good. All right. Now, one of the things I like to do for medical treatments and things like that is have him roll over on his side. And then I can come over here and restrain him if necessary. I can look at various parts of his body. I can do various things with him, but if I feel I'm going to have to do something that's uncomfortable, I can restrain him just a bit, or I can just let him relax. Good boy. Excellent. That was really nice. You want to get up on your seat? Good boy. That was marvelous. And you saw I did that whole sequence. I did paw, and then I did the other paw, then I had him come down, then I had him lay down, and then I had him roll over on his side, then I did tactile on his side, I had him sit up, and I had him come all the way back over here. All of that was done using conditioned reinforcers, other things other than food. He was reinforced at every single stage, but I didn't give him food until he got back up onto the platform. So that's a really great example of one of the things I'll be teaching about at Clicker Expo, but you can come for other things because there are so many wonderful speakers. I'm going to do now is I want to test our Q&A capability on YouTube Live and Facebook Live, and has a puppy, and Debbie has a 2-year-old dog herself. She's going to be doing some live training for us then. So, and I see lots of great comments here. I'm just sort of stalling here just so that I can see your comments. You had an opportunity to see live training there. Aaron says, oh, hi, Aaron. Looking great. What kind of practice frequency will it take to develop something like clapping as a reinforcer if a dog is already clicker savvy? I think that's a really good question. And I think that what we have found, I teach a course through Karen Pryor Academy called Smart Reinforcement. And in that class, we suggest the class is going to last 6 to 9 months. Not because you need that long to get the information, but you need that long to really get your dog or whatever animal you're working with comfortable with this idea of a novel reinforcer. You can get your dog really to understand it and be responsive to it and use it as an actual reinforcer within about 6 months' time. And that's just assuming you work on it a little bit every week. But for a lot of the animals I work with, I kind of wait for a whole year to go by where I've used it, but where I really discover that it takes on really great reinforcing qualities. In other words, the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. The more you integrate it into your training, the more your dog or your learner begins to anticipate what it means. And you get to a point where you just clap and you can see the dog get all excited and they're ready to go on to the next thing. So I'm very hopeful that more and more people will take that idea on. You can use toys and you can use tactile, but sometimes one of the things that I like to cover in the course is how to evaluate those reinforcers. And sometimes it's just great to have a reinforcer that you have with you all the time. And so for me, because I have the use of my hands and my hands go with me wherever I go, it's something that I can use quite well and works extremely well as a reinforcer. So I appreciate the question, Aaron. I think, let me see if there are any other good questions coming in. A lot of people are just saying, hey, I love it. I'm so glad that so many of you could join us. This was really meant to be a test. We aren't going to stay on the air for very long, but we wanted to try it out, and I feel like I think we've tested it well, and I really appreciate you being here. We don't want to take up too much of your time today. We hope you have a great Thursday. Unless you're tuning in from overseas, and maybe it's already Friday. But either way, we hope you have a great rest of your day. Our main goal, too, was to try to remind you about Clicker Expo Live, and you might have just seen the quick screen that came up there. There it is again. It's a perfect opportunity for animal training enthusiasts and pros to really improve your skills, connect with each other, keep up with the latest techniques, and learn from world experts in positive reinforcement. I'm really excited about it. And not only am I excited about Clicker Expo Live, which is the virtual event happening January 27th, 28th, and 29th, I am super excited about getting to be in person and see other trainers and network with other trainers at an in-person Clicker Expo, and that's coming up in March. And we still have a few spots available, so we hope that if you're not signed up for Clicker Expo Washington, D.C., that you do so really, really soon. It's a really unique program. It's different from any other Clicker Expo we've ever done because it's an opportunity for us to talk about training excellence. And we've got over 20 speakers, each of which are going to answer the question, what is it that makes you as good as you are? Why is it that people keep coming to you? What is the secret that you focus on as a trainer to help elevate your training? And every single person that we have speaking is going to come at it from a unique angle, a different perspective, and share with us different things that they focus on. And our hope is that you will be able to see those different ideas and go, oh, that will help me a great deal, or that's something I could use to become a great trainer. And I appreciate Lorena suggesting that Clicker Expo can be quite addictive. It can be. It's one of those conferences that, because of the quality of the speakers and the quality of the information and the friendliness of all the trainers around, it's just one of those opportunities that you can't miss because it's such a great opportunity to really network and just get really, really great information. All right. Well, I see one other question. I'm going to keep answering questions here. I see Sarah is asking, oh, I lost it. Oh, thank you. Rachel, Sarah just put it on the screen for me. Sarah's asking, how can you tell that the dog is recognizing the reinforcer rather than engaging in a behavior chain and waiting for a treat? That's a great question. And part of the development of non-food reinforcers does help you develop a better, stronger behavior chain. But in the end, a behavior chain is, of course, different from just a novel reinforcer. What you begin to see happen is you begin to see the animal's anticipation of the food, and also the anticipation that as soon as you clap, they often look to you to look for what's my next cue, which often shows you that they're not expecting a reinforcer right then. It's sort of acknowledgement that, okay, I must have done that right. What are we doing next? And that's one of the things that's really, really helpful in getting to look at. It's one of the things I talk a lot about in the course. First, you develop the reinforcer, and at the beginning, your dog claps and looks right to your treat bag because they know that it means treat. But as you begin using it more and more, after you clap, the dog gets excited, but instead of looking to your treat bag, looks to you to say, and what are we doing now? In other words, there's that understanding and expectation. I did well. What's my next task, Dad? And you see that switch over, and that's when you start to recognize that the animal really understands what the clapping means. I hope that answered your question. And someone put in there a question about, is it a little bit like a bridge, or a bridge is just a marker? The training of a non-food reinforcer starts like a marker, but step 2, 3, 4, and 5 take it in another direction. A marker tells the animal food's coming. A non-food reinforcer tells the animal, you did well, let's move on to something else. And it helps the animal be prepared for the fact that maybe you're not going to be using food at that time. All wonderful questions, and again, we could probably talk about this topic all day. I hope you'll either join me at the KPA workshop that I teach and sign up for the course, but even better, come to Clicker Expo, because then you can get the information about this technique, and you can join in on many, many other conferences and all other topics. And one of the great things about Expo also that I didn't mention is we have 3, 4, 5, 6 things going on at the same time. But if you sign up for a virtual Clicker Expo, you will get free access to the recordings of everything for a full year. So if you aren't able to catch a speaker that you wanted to see, or if you are so busy that you can't quite get to the things that you're really interested in, you have a whole year to catch up on it because you have access to the recordings from Clicker Expo for after the expo is over. So that's just another wonderful thing. So I'm going to wrap it up now. I said that once before. This time I really mean it. I appreciate you joining us. It was wonderful. Helped us on this end to test the platform and for us to get some good information out to you at the same time. Thank you. We'll see you at Clicker Expo Live, maybe at Clicker Expo in person, and maybe on our next Live from the Ranch on January 5th. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and we appreciate all the feedback and all of your participation today. It's helped us a great deal. Bye-bye, and happy training.